I thank you, Honourable Presiding Member. When we talk about the COVID-19 pandemic, an issue that we cannot run away from is the grave economic situation that the people are forced to face. It is not only in this country, it is a global issue. And the Honourable Nivad Cabral in his speech endeavoured to put the economic situation in context and how the government is trying to address those issues. In that light, Honourable Presiding Member, I want to bring to your notice, if the economic situation during this COVID-19 pandemic situation has deteriorated to such an extent, and the ordinary citizens, the average citizen in Sri Lanka is facing a grave crisis, can you just imagine what the situation would be for the people of the Northeast who had faced economic blockade for almost 32 years during the war? Not only did they have that economic blockade to face up to, which they have still not recovered from, on top of that you have this pandemic that has almost pauperized them completely. So in that backdrop, I want to bring to the notice of this House something quite astounding that is taking place, even in this grave situation, without any consideration of those downtrodden, suffering people in the Northeast. Honourable Presiding Member, in 1984, places in Kokkolai, Kokkutodavai and Karnatakani, these areas were asked to be evacuated by the military because they were going to carry out military operations. The Tamil people of those areas were asked to evacuate. Those people were displaced right until around 2012. Till then, they were not even allowed to come and resettle. And it is only after that, whereas despite the military chasing out the Tamil people who had been there for generations, Sinhalese people in the 80s itself had begun to be settled in those areas. After the war, when the people who rightfully owned those areas, who are the rightful owners, tried to come back, they found that Kokkolai West, Kokkolai East, Kokkutodavai South, Kokkutodavai North, and Kokkutodavai Centre, Karnatakani, these areas had been gazetted under the Mahaveli Development Authority in 2007. The areas have been gazetted without their knowledge, and when they tried to go back and resettle and do their farming in those areas that they had rightful papers for and deeds for, they were not allowed. And this became a huge issue. Subsequently, Semmale East and Semmale Glama Nidadari divisions were also included in that gazette. And under these circumstances, Honourable Presiding Member, however, despite this being gazetted to fall under the Mahaveli Authority, the land administration was kept under the Divisional Secretary of Karathurapattu Divisional Secretary. So in some way, the Divisional Secretary was helping these war displaced people coming back and trying to get back their normal life. And all of a sudden, what we found was towards the end of last year, the Mahaveli Authority had written to the Divisional Secretariat saying that they were going to take over all of the land administration and wanted all the documents to be transferred. So in this backdrop, in fact, during the budget debates, when we heard this, we immediately, not only ourselves, even members of the TNA, all the Tamil parties representing those areas, called for a meeting with the Honourable Chamal Rajapaksa, who is the relevant minister concerned, who in turn called the Mahaveli Authority, the Forest Department, all the relevant departments. We had a meeting, and the Honourable Minister agreed to suspend that action, that is to call for the transfer of all the land administration to the Mahaveli Authority, and pending the appointment of a committee consisting of all the stakeholders to go into the matter and to come to some sort of agreement, because he did not want unnecessary tensions, considering the grave economic situation also faced by the people. So, in fairness to the Honourable Minister, he even though he agreed to appoint the committee could not eventually be appointed and did not even meet once because of the COVID situation in the country. But the land being shifted, land administration being shifted from the divisional secretary to the Mahabali Authority was suspended, in fairness to the Honourable Minister, to which we are thankful. However, on the 3rd of April this year, this month, His Excellency the President had visited the Nadungani, that is Vavuniya North, Bogaswaba area, which is ironically another Tamil area that had been colonized, Kokkachankulam. He visited that area. That Gramanidhirari division has 2 Tamil villages and a Sinhala village. The Bogaswaba is the Sinhala village. Even though His Excellency the President went to that GN division, he did not inform the 2 Tamil villages people to come and meet him. Only the Sinhala villagers were met. And in that meeting, someone who did not belong to that village came from Mullaitivu, belonging to these areas that the Mahabali Authority is trying to usurp, came to that meeting and told the President that the Mahabali Authority has not taken over the land, and as a result, they are the Sinhala people in that area that have being colonized by the Mahabali Authority, to whom against the divisional secretary actually filed legal action, right? That the Mahabali Authority has not taken land and they are losing the opportunity to get their land. And the President, without even consulting the administration in that area or the people, relevant people, announced that the Mahabali Authority should go ahead and take over that land. Now, this is completely unacceptable, Honourable Presiding Member. I hope the Honourable Responsible Minister will take this matter to the President. Obviously, the President was not informed of his own elder brother's decision to suspend that action pending this committee's action. So I call upon the government to stop this most unjust action, and the President must reconsider his decision and stop any attempt to take over the lands from the divisional secretary to the Mahabali Authority until this matter is fully gone into and justice to the people who have been long suffering, especially during this COVID matter also, is finally meted out. I would like to conclude, Honourable Presiding Member, by raising this one matter. We are discussing COVID pandemic. We are talking about what a grave situation. Even the government accepts, even the Honourable Health Minister accepts that it is a grave situation that must be brought under control. And the government says that they are doing their best. Well, if that is the case, Honourable Presiding Member, some of the steps that this government has been taking, for example, in the north, in Jaffna, is when religious events in Jaffna town, religious events by certain Hindu temples are taking place, the government took action to arrest the President and the Secretary of that Hindu trustee temple, Nachamar Koil temple, saying that they should not have had that function where the public gathered, because that is how serious the situation is. Well, if we are to give the benefit of the doubt that in fact the situation is that bad and therefore those sort of events should not have taken place, then certainly the Vesak, national Vesak festivals cannot take place also, and that too has been earmarked to be taken place in Nainadiva, Nagadipa. I call upon the government to forthwith stop these events, considering the grave situation. None of the Tamil members of Parliament, when it was announced that Nainadivu will be the place where the Vesak, National Vesak Festival will take place, none of us protested. But certainly considering the grave situation that the government itself accepts faces the country, then it is only fair that the government takes steps to stop those festivals forthwith, reconsider its decision. Certainly, under these circumstances, for the government to go ahead with with that festival would mean that unnecessary ethnic tensions will only widen. And I hope the government acts responsibly in that matter as well. Thank you, sir.